Ready.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about ready to open up the SEDA regular meeting, but I need to read these instructions first. There are 2 times designated for public testimony this evening under business from the audience and public hearings. If you are attending in person, please complete the request to speak card located at the city recorder's desk in the library meeting room and turn them into the city recorder. If you're joining us online with a tablet, smartphone, or computer and wish to speak either of those times, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. The order of public testimony is as follows. Number 1 would be anyone in person in the library meeting room. 2, anyone who has raised their virtual hand. I'd like to call this meeting to order with roll call, please.
Board Member Van Gordon, here. Board Member Weber. Board Member Moe, here. Vice Chair Rodley,
Here.
Board Member Blackwell,
Here.
Board Member Doyle,
Here.
Chair Pictionary,
Here, thank you.
and Board Member Lovell. Here.
So great. So before we start this meeting, or as we start this meeting, I would like to make a statement. I am sure everyone has heard now that the Oregon Government Ethics Commission voted unanimously to dismiss our request for investigation from the Springfield Economic Development Agency, clearing Commissioner Lovell, Bob Miller, and SEDA's names of any ethical violations, which is a great outcome. The decision to request the inquiry was tough for me because Commissioner Lovell is someone I consider a friend and a man of integrity who brings tremendous value to his efforts in Springfield. And the fact is, David, there are so many people in Springfield that have produced so much economic activity, but they pale in comparison to you. There is no questioning that this inquiry was about ensuring that everything we did as a board was above reproach for the public. When staff presented this issue to us, there was no other option for us to take for this type of situation. And I am sorry for the process and this whole process and the stress that this has caused you, your family, and Bob, and our community. We want excellent people to serve in our community and to continue serving the community, and I look forward to working with you into the future. Next item.
The next item is the consent calendar.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify. Thank you. So do we have any communications at this point?
Well, we have business from the audience.
Yes.
I believe we have no cards, but we have a hand raised in the audience. Bob Miller, and Bob, you should be able to unmute your microphone. Oh, hold on, Bob. All right, Bob, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Good evening. My name is Bob Miller. I'm a partner in Masaka Properties. We are developers who have done projects in downtown Springfield and have been doing so since 2016. My business partner, David Lovell, has been active in developing downtown since 2007. We have helped turn downtown from a drug-infested, topless, bar-filled vagrant's paradise where families were afraid to go into a vibrant, alive, tenant-filled area where individuals and families feel safe walking at night. We've had a specific vision in mind for Springfield. In fact, after completing construction on our first project and having all the residential spaces filled immediately, we waited 18 months intentionally to get our vision of a downtown grocery store signed to a lease. We turned down countless pot dispensaries that offered to pay us 3 times the rent we were seeking in cash, giving up tens of thousands of dollars in rent to get downtown turned in the right direction. We currently boast as tenants arguably one of the best restaurants in Lane County, Tavern on Main, a wonderful family-friendly grocery store, Main Street Market, and several other thriving businesses who serve the community of Springfield. We have come to SEDA many times looking for assistance with a loan to further our vision to make Springfield a more desirable destination for locals and tourists alike. We have been turned down every time. Why? I have no idea. We've had to self-fund these projects in the millions of dollars with zero help from SEDA. What is SEDA's mission statement? If you're not willing to help developers develop, why do you exist? So I looked it up. I looked on your website, and your website states, and I quote, private property redevelopment. Several significant property and project owners have recently expressed plans to make substantial investments in their sites to develop a mix of commercial, housing, and hospitality. These projects are anticipated to utilize the SDC payment program, the loan program, and may request additional partnership from SEDA. Well, we requested and you said no. SEDA is willing to spend thousands on fancy crosswalks, but not assist the developers who bring the pedestrians to those crosswalks. You recently accused my business partner, David Lovell, of unethical conduct, of which the charges were immediately and unanimously dismissed by the Oregon Ethics Committee. You accused him of sharing supposed confidential information with me, information which was widely available in the public information sphere months before your accusations of him. Newspaper articles in the Register Guard, news stories on KEZI and other stations exposed to the general public all the information you somehow felt was proprietary. We are currently the only developers in Springfield with a building in progress. The other projects that attracted so much of your time, attention, and praise fell by the wayside due to raising interest rates, disruption in the supply chain causing prices for building materials to skyrocket, inflation in general caused by the current administration of this country. We have never asked for money, we have asked for loans. I hope SEDA can get back on track and realize their goal here in Springfield. Your goal should be prioritizing development of Springfield, not playing politics or playing favorites with developers. Shame on you.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers, Neil?
No more speakers on this item.
Okay. Any other correspondence or business from staff? Next item. Yours.
Board member
we
Doyle
have
has her hand raised. Chair Piscineri.
Right. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So, and I believe that you want to speak, Victoria, correct me if I'm wrong, in regards to the previous subject. And I'm going to have that section under new business so I can give an opportunity for anybody on the commission to speak to that as well.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet. So there's nothing of a report of chair. I already spoke earlier. Is there any reports of committees? Okay. Under public hearings, go ahead,
Next
Nathan.
Is the SEDA supplemental budget. That's resolution number 1, a resolution adjusting resources and requirements in the following funds: SEDA Glenwood General Fund, SEDA Downtown General Fund. Nathan Bell is here for this item.
Good evening, SEDA Board. The item in front of you this evening is a request to conduct a public hearing and to adopt, not adopt, a resolution adjusting resources and requirements in the SEDA Glenwood and Downtown funds. It's a pretty straightforward supplemental budget. It's mostly housekeeping and timing adjustments with good descriptions in the AIS. So really nothing to note here for you. With that, any questions?
Is there any questions from anybody? Okay. Is this an action item? Yes, indeed. I need
ready for a motion?
I believe.
We need to
Yes.
open a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to open a public hearing on this matter. Anybody wishing to speak to this item?
We have no
Neil, do
cards.
we have anybody?
No cards and no hands raised for this item.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder, Nate. I'm now going to close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve resolution number 1, a resolution adjusting resources and requirements in the following funds: SEDA Glenwood General Fund, SEDA Downtown General Fund.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify, please. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next item would be new business. So Victoria, you said you would like to speak to folks, and I would also advise others if they wish to make any comments, then they're welcome to at this time after Victoria.
Thank you, Chair. Made a statement and I was afraid I'd forget stuff, so I wrote it down. So there's times when as a board member or a counselor, we're told we have to vote yes on things we don't necessarily agree with because we're obligated to by laws, ordinances, mandates, etc. We always want to maintain a level of transparency with the public, especially when dealing with public funds. The situation that we spoke about earlier, however, was one of the votes where I truly did not believe the action was necessary because the facts presented did not rise to the level of an ethics inquiry, in my opinion. It simply didn't seem like there was anything there. Not to mention the fact that I know Commissioner Lovell to be a man of integrity and conviction, so the accusation seems somewhat suspicious. Despite what the chair said in his statement, what I realized is that I actually did have a choice. We had a choice, and I regret not standing with my conviction and my common sense. The unanimous decision returned by the Oregon Ethics Commission clearly supports that thought. I want to publicly apologize to Commissioner Lovell for my vote and to you, Anita, for putting you through this. Being a public servant is hard enough as it is, and I'm grateful that you were vindicated.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Is there anybody else who wish to speak?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful for the unanimous ruling from the Oregon Ethics Commission last Friday, clearing not only me, but my family and my business partners and friends for over 41 years, Bob and Mary Miller, of any wrongdoing in the complaint made by this body in June against our development company, Mesocca Properties LLC. While there may have been an artificial burden of how members of this board may have felt there was no other option for them to take in this matter, I want to remind us all that those who choose to be bold in tough arenas like this, it is those people who become the leaders of integrity our constituents can trust in the future. I also hope you and the public can appreciate the deep depth of stress and financial hardship that this has personally caused myself and my wife. Yet the takeaway going forward must be this: we're all elected officials, trusted to use our collective moral integrity and courage to make true and difficult choices, even in the face of strong opposition, and to do what's best by our constituents who elected us. We must always hold our privileged vote not only to do the right thing, but also doing the hardest thing, even if that's to stand alone when necessary. It's situations like these that keep good people from being willing to serve our great community. And to that end, I look forward to moving past this and continuing to represent the people of Springfield as a key advisor to this board, guiding boldly the many economic development opportunities this great community has to offer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Lovell. I appreciate that. Next item.
Next item is old business. Item number
Should be-
1 is the Glenwood update, and Ally
Yep.
Camp has this item.
Thanks to the board. I'm here today with some of our project team members from Rob Brokaw to provide an update on the Glenwood project. I just want to give a note that we have members from Rob Brokaw Architects helping us today. We also have team members who have been selected as our master developers, Mark Mixis and Jill Sherman. We have partners at William Lane, and the adjacent property owners have been partners in the projects thus far, and William Lane as well. We last spoke to you in June with a preliminary concept, and it's been refined since, so we're back to continue showing it to you. These SEDA checkpoints are helpful as we move towards submission of materials. Just a reminder that master planning gives us the following things. Why are we doing this? It allows us to think through project phasing over this large site. It allows us to consider availability of public infrastructure and facilities throughout the whole site. It allows us to determine specific land uses and ranges of square footage for both residential and non-residential uses throughout the site. It helps us to identify potential development impacts. And it provides property owners with opportunity for review of the development and title process, the land use process. And finally, it allows us to have a cohesive development across this whole 30 acres, so we don't have a piecemeal development of many properties over time. In your AIS, I called out some project principles, and I'm just going to read them for the folks who don't have it in front of them. These project principles are what helps us move through the project over time to make sure we're staying aligned with the intent and bringing you information so you can continue to support and help us move the project along. The project principles have been used through the solicitation for both the master planner and the master developer. So the team that we've built have really come from these principles over the past couple of years as we've collected these folks to help us. So the principles are to connect the community to the river, to meet the intent of the Glenwood Refinement Plan, to be flexible in approach and timely in outcome, to be economically viable in development considerations and property tax performance, and to feel right-sized for Springfield. We have with us today Lori Nelson, who's going to talk through some of the refinements from the concept plan since you last saw it. Again, this is an opportunity for you to engage with the concept. Let us know of any questions or clarifications that we can help provide. After Lori is finished, I'm going to provide some next steps and just basic project management information to keep you most apprised. So, Lori.
Hello, this is Lori Nelson with Raoul Brokaw. And we are currently, if you're familiar with the contract, in task 3, which is mostly about the DIM or the Development Initiation Meeting, which we are submitting for this coming Friday. We're also kind of well into task 4, which is the preparation of the report for the master plan pre-application. And we have been meeting with some of the property owners. So we've met with the Ross, the Marvins, Homes for Good, and then we presented to SEDA some time ago. What we're looking for in the future is once we get past the DIM, that will give us some feedback as to direction for streets and infrastructure and information like that. And then once we get past that, we'll move into the master plan process itself. And we anticipate some public outreach through the master plan process, which is required probably in January. And that is kind of a summary of where we are. I'm not sure if there's anything else, Allie, that you'd like for me to share.
Lori, could you talk a little bit about what we focused on the past couple of weeks from the concept plan? We've kind of understood more about the size of the sites.
Mm-hmm.
We have more knowledge about the transportation flow on the property. And we've continued to think through the park as well.
Yeah, we have spent a fair amount of time trying to get the right street layout. And I think we're getting closer to having a pretty good layout, which starts to make us see what the size of all of the parcels are. And then the next question will be dividing up some of the blocks or the parcels, which will lead into what I assume will be sort of a land swap. So at some point, Willamette Lane will, finalize exactly the appropriate amount of property that they're interested in. And then, of course, with the other landowners, how there's an equitable land swap giving up parcel or part of their parcels for things like infrastructure and parks. Yeah, how about that?
And I'm just going to clarify too, these are included in attachment 1. The first page of attachment 1 is the concept that you saw in June, and you can see the refinements on page 2 of attachment 1 to date. I'm going to pause. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts they'd like to offer up?
I have a quick question. So when I look at attachment 2, when we're talking about Willamette Lane, are they in this first cut? Are they talking about that 6 acres plus what would be the linear park, or is Willamette Lane's sort of steps going to be phased, if you will?
There's a couple of questions in there. I think maybe I'll answer them in 2 parts. You'll see some lines on the concepts that we provided you. Those lines indicate distance from the river. Certain amounts of development are permitted in those lines from distance to the river. And the closest lines to the river, it's very small font, I'm so sorry. No development is permitted. So we are kind of assuming at this point that that would be the linear park. That's where nothing else can be built, but parks and trails are permitted. That linear park will skirt the edge of the property because that's where that river setback line is. So no development can occur there. Thinking through the other pieces of the park, and we may have someone from Willamette Lane on the call too. Those will continue to evolve as we define property lines throughout the site. Lori mentioned that, as we continue to iron out where where the lots will be and where the roads will be, there will be opportunities for property line adjustments so that we can assure that the park and the development are appropriately scaled for the whole 30-acre site. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I have my hand raised. I don't know if Chair Pishner, it's kind of awkward to do it in a hybrid format. Just want to, we're in a preliminary stages. I wanted to sort of emphasize though, one of the things we've heard consistently in the community is just about access to the river. That's been so vitally important. My sister was visiting here and I tried to drive to the river in Glenwood. I was like, I don't know how to do it. And, that was an important learning moment for me. I think we have a real opportunity here to really dream big, think big. We're gonna have one at really showcasing what is a true jewel. I mean, you don't really even know it's there until you're actually there. And so that's something we're kind of tinkering around with as far as what are good examples that we can draw from and learn from that really use that natural element for the full community. And so the community intersects with that and they want to preserve that. So I would just say for the council and people listening, one example, and this, we're certainly not locked into anything, but the city of Hood River has an excellent waterfront park where they actually integrate a portion of the Columbia River into the park and they have a small man-made beach there with some sand. It's very shallow and segregated off from the flow of the river and very heavily used by families. There's like a play structures there and then a natural grass amphitheater and then a trail that runs all the way through. Then there's parking and across a small street. And then there's a lot of great restaurants, bars, it's very packed. And there's some similarities between the city of Hood River and our city in the sense that they have this waterfront area and they also have a downtown area. And there was when the waterfront area was developed, there was some consternation between business owners in downtown that didn't want to see traffic going down to the waterfront. They thought they would be losing business as a downtown. However, at least in River, those two areas are so distinctly different. And I think it's been shown over time that the downtown area has not suffered from having the type of recreation and space in the waterfront area. I think it's just been an additive value. People go and they will recreate on the water and they still love going through the downtown. We also have a beautiful downtown and we can actually connect these in a way that the city of Hood River isn't able to. So just something to think about. We're looking at models and we'd love to hear people's input of other places and spaces that really bring the community together.
Yeah, if I have only added to one thing to your dream, city administrator Nancy, would be, I would love to see a surf wave somewhere around there.
Yeah. They'll tell our insurance back.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's got an award, so.
Yeah, like we do in Eugene where they have a walking path over the river.
Yeah, we can do some.
As opposed to trying to have people walk across our bridge, which would be kind of dangerous. That'd be really cool.
One of my thoughts.
Ally, do you have anything else?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
There are a couple of other pieces of work that allow us to move this plan forward that I don't want you to forget about. We are talking with residents in the Glenwood area to understand their relocation needs. That decision will come to SEDA whenever we have enough information to bring to you. These property line adjustments as the concept begins to solidify with regards to where the park is, where the lots are. And then we are also pulling cost estimates for infrastructure so we can understand the right sizedness of this for Springfield, considering this is a large piece of undeveloped land mostly. Just some project management items. As Lori mentioned, we're having meetings with the private property owners, the Ross, the Marvins, and also Homes for Good. We have joint planning agreements signed from these folks, which means that we can move through this planning process all together. As I mentioned earlier, if we don't plan as a whole, this development can happen piecemeal over time. And these joint planning agreements are a really nice tool to have so that we can assure the development happens a certain way over the long period of time. We meet weekly with our project team, and William Lane's included in that. As Lori mentioned, we're at kind of task 3/4 in the scope of work, and I just want to remind you that there are 9 tasks total. 3 and 4 are very heavy workloads. They are moving through all the research, the conceptualization, the understanding of what fits and how, to prepare submission materials for the city's land use process. As Lori also mentioned, we have public input opportunities coming up through the land use process, both in a neighborhood meeting, which is identified in task 5, and a public open house in task 7. And pretty soon we'll have a month-by-month outline of milestones on our website for folks to engage with the project. Little update. Any questions? Or
Very nice.
Board Member Doyle has her hand
Nope.
up.
Nope. Oh, go ahead, Victoria.
I have a question about the budget. So how are we doing in terms of the budget that we have approved for this consultant? Because I have seen history where we hire a consultant and then we get into it and then all of a sudden we get this thing that says, hey, we need another $100,000. So I'd like to make sure that we're staying where we're supposed to be with these folks, or that they're locked into not coming back with 10% above or.
Sure thing. Right now, we have used approximately 32% of our budget. We contracted with Rob Brokaw in, I believe, January for $669,000, 669,888.0. So we're approximately 32% of the way through that budget. As I mentioned, task 3 and 4 are very heavy staff intensive tasks. We're chugging along. As the master plan evolves, we'll keep an eye on how that cost fits into the tasks.
Is that Steve? Steve, do you have your hand up?
When we approved this, they actually guaranteed that period. So I want to keep that in mind. Because I know how those things creep up, get carried away.
Board Member Pictionary?
Yes.
I just wanted to follow up on Board Member Doyle's question. So the bike and pedestrian bridge is in the refinement plan. It's just not in this work, correct?
Oh, cool.
Okay, so it is in the refinement.
So I wasn't just coming up with that idea on my own. Somebody else already thought of it.
It still takes credit. Staff work they gotta put in already.
Well, that's good news. Do we have any other questions for Ally? Ally, do you have anything else to add?
You know, it's real quick.
Nothing?
Nope,
I'm
Thank
sorry, I
you.
cut you off. Say that again.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Well, according to my agenda, I think this is where we go with an adjournment unless someone disagrees. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Ally.